I walked into the bedroom. My cheating wife jolted out of bed, eyes wide with shock, and screamed, "You were supposed to call first. Get out." But I didn't move. I turned to the man beside her and said calmly, "I think your wife would be very interested to know what you're doing here." Little did they know, this was just the beginning of my unstoppable revenge. I used to believe that marriage was built on trust. As a senior financial consultant in Munich, I spent my days managing multi-million-dollar accounts, calculating risks, and predicting disasters before they happened. But the biggest disaster of my life had already struck, and I never saw it coming. For 10 years, I thought my wife, Elena, was my perfect partner. She was a loving companion, a charming hostess at business events, and the woman who made my world feel complete. But in the last few months, something changed. She became distant, always lost in her phone, typing with a secretive smirk, the kind she never used to give me. She started taking late-night showers, something she never did before. After shopping trips, she'd head straight to the bathroom, as if washing away a hidden truth. Even her perfume changed. A new scent, expensive, unfamiliar, lingering on her clothes. But I hadn't bought it for her. At first, I told myself I was overthinking. But your gut never lies. The final red flag came on a Friday evening. Elena told me she was going on a weekend spa retreat with Charlotte, her best friend. I had no reason to doubt her, until Charlotte's husband, Carl, called me the next morning. "Hey Daniel," he said casually. "You're home too. Thought we'd be free men this weekend with Charlotte and Elena in Vienna." Vienna? Elena told me she was going to Salzburg. My stomach twisted. Charlotte wasn't even with her. That was the moment I knew Elena wasn't at a spa. She was with someone else. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. Confrontation gives liars time to create better lies. Instead, I did what I do best. I gathered evidence. Within 24 hours, I had tracked her phone. She wasn't in Vienna or Salzburg. She was at the Kaiserhof Hotel in Munich. I hired a private investigator. He confirmed that she had checked in with a man named Leonard Hartmann, a married CEO of a luxury car company. I hacked into our shared bank statements. She had used our joint account to pay for expensive dinners, lavish gifts, and even weekend getaways with him. Elena wasn't just cheating. She was spending my money on another man. And the worst part, she had no idea I knew. I didn't just want to catch her. I wanted to destroy her. So I waited. Sunday night. I knew she'd be back in our house, with him. That's when I set my perfect trap. I sent Leonard's wife, Katerina, a polite invitation to listen in. I walked into my own bedroom unannounced. I let Elena and Leonard destroy themselves. I climbed the stairs, my heart pounding, but my face calm. I already knew what I'd find. The only question was, how long would it take before they realized their world was crumbling? I reached the door, turned the handle, and stepped inside. Elena was mid-laugh, until she saw me. She jerked out of bed, nearly tripping over herself, her eyes wide with horror. "Daniel, you were supposed to call first," she shrieked, scrambling for the sheets. "Get out." I didn't move. Instead, I turned my attention to Leonard, who was sitting up, still half naked. His face flickered between shock and arrogance, as if deciding whether to bluff or beg. That's when I spoke, my voice cool and controlled. "I think your wife would be very interested to see what you're doing here." Leonard went pale. Elena gasped, "Daniel, please." I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and let the recording play. The moment their own voices filled the room, it was as if the air had been sucked out. Leonard froze, his face twisting in panic. Elena's entire body shook as her own words sealed her fate. From the speaker, her voice rang out clear, confident, dripping with arrogance. "Daniel's so busy with work. I could sleep with half of Munich, and he wouldn't notice." Then Leonard's amused reply, "He has no clue, does he? The idiot probably thinks his wife is loyal." Elena clapped a hand over her mouth, eyes wide with sheer horror. Leonard reached for his pants. "Turn that off." I didn't, because this wasn't just playing for them. It was playing for Katerina. 15 minutes before I walked into this room, I had sent Leonard's wife, Katerina, an invitation to listen in. She had accepted. Now she knew everything. A sharp inhale crackled through the phone speaker. Then came Katerina's voice, calm, cold, and lethal. "Leonard, you're a filthy, pathetic liar. Leonard's head snapped toward my phone. Katerina, wait, it's not what it looks like. She cut him off. Oh, so what was it then? A business meeting? An accident? Maybe Elena just tripped and fell into your bed. Elena flinched, staring at Leonard in horror. He wasn't even trying to defend her. Katerina let out a sharp, humorless laugh. You don't need to explain, darling. I'll make this easy for you. I'll have my lawyers serve you divorce papers first thing tomorrow. Leonard staggered, as if the words had physically struck him. Katerina, please, you don't mean that. Think about what you're doing. Oh, I have. And so will you, when you're homeless, penniless, and crawling through court battles for the next 2 years. Leonard's face drained of all color. Then the call cut off. One enemy down. One more to go. I turned to Elena and smiled. She was sobbing now, her once beautiful face streaked with tears. Daniel, she whimpered, her voice trembling. Please, we can fix this. I made a mistake. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, my voice steady. A mistake? I echoed. She nodded frantically. It meant nothing. He meant nothing. I raised a brow. Then why? I mused, pulling out another document and tossing it onto the bed. Did you transfer 10,000 euros to Leonard's account last month? Her sobs stopped. Her eyes darted to the paper. You what? She whispered. I shrugged. Oh, you didn't think I knew? You thought I wouldn't notice the large, unauthorized withdrawals from our joint account. Her face twisted in terror. You see, Elena, I continued, my voice deadly smooth. If there's one thing I never miss, it's the numbers. There's one thing I despise more than a liar. It's a thief. Elena opened her mouth, then froze. That's when she saw the second document on the bed. Divorce papers. Her breath hitched. We can talk about this, she stammered. Don't do this. I didn't reply. Instead, I pulled out my phone again and pressed send. A notification dinged on Elena's phone. She grabbed it, her hands trembling as she opened the message. Her face crumbled in horror. The recording, the messages, the entire affair. Sent to her family, our closest friends, the board members of her charity organization. Her hands flew to her mouth as fresh, hysterical sobs racked her body. She looked up at me, pleading. You ruined me. I tilted my head. No, Elena. You ruined yourself. She collapsed onto the bed, broken, destroyed, powerless. But I wasn't done. I adjusted my cufflinks. You need to leave. Elena's head snapped up. What? I gestured around the room, where movers had already begun packing. Did you think I'd let you stay here? I asked casually. The house? Sold. The car? Repossessed. Your credit cards? Frozen. Her eyes bulged. You can't do that. I smirked. Actually, I can. I picked up one last legal document and tossed it beside her. A loophole in our prenup, I explained. Adultery voids your financial claims. You walk away with nothing. Her face twisted in horror. Tears streamed down her face. Where will I go? She choked out. I smiled mockingly. Maybe Leonard has a guest room. But when we both turned to Leonard, he was already pulling on his jacket, inching toward the door. Then, in the most satisfying moment of all, he turned to Elena and said, I can't deal with this. I need to go. And with that he ran. Elena screamed. She lunged after him, grabbing at his arm, begging. But Leonard, he was done with her. Just like me. It's been 6 months since that night. Leonard was financially ruined. His wife took everything in the divorce. His business shares, luxury properties, even his reputation. Last I heard, he was living in a rental, drowning in legal fees. Elena was erased from high society. Friends abandoned her. Her parents disowned her. She had to take a low-paying job just to survive. And me? I moved on. A fresh start. A new city. A life free from betrayal. I never looked back. Because in the end, cheaters never win. But I always do. When you betray someone who gave you everything, don't be surprised when you end up with nothing.